You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, your weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your hosts, Steph and Tara, every Wednesday morning as they dive into a new witchy topic.
Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. This is Steph.
And this is Tara.
And you are listening to episode 52, Witchy Q&A.
Guys, we've almost made it through the year. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, but we're very close to the end of the year. Obviously, there's one more Wednesday left in 2020, but we are going to dedicate that to like wrapping up the year and talking about what you can expect going into 2021. According to the podcast, we have no idea what's coming in 2021, guys.
No one knows, guys. No one knows. 2020 has been a wild ride.
Yeah, fingers crossed that 2021 is an improvement, but
less eventful.
Yeah, so we don't know that, but we will be able to tell you next week what's coming in the podcast.
Yes, exciting stuff.
But for this episode, we decided to do a Q&A and compile some of the more fun, I guess, questions that we've gotten from listeners. We had a few bonus episodes this year just from questions that had more to do with the practice, something that, everybody would like to know, which is common knowledge and things. But we have gotten some questions that are more personal to us, asking us, our favorites of different items and, more about like our particular paths. So that's what this Q&A is all about, answering questions that you guys have given us to know more about us.
And these are all compiled from multiple questions. So this isn't like one person asked a very specific question. This is more of a general question asked by maybe a couple people.
Yeah. So let's just dive right in. Some of these are quick answers and some of them we're going to chat a little bit more about.
So we're starting with the easy ones, hopefully.
Yeah, we're starting with the easy ones, hopefully. What is the trickiest part of the practice for each of us?
Yes.
So for me, the trickiest part is making the time to do the spells and rituals the way I want to do them. So in everything in my life, I have a perfectionism problem.
She's not kidding, guys.
I know that progress over perfection and done is better than perfect and all of those things, but I still want.
She does not believe it.
Yeah, I still want things to be perfect and I want things to be detailed. So we're gonna, one of the questions we're saving till the end because it's a little more complicated, is talking about our paths and how we practice. But part of how I like to practice is very specific, like hoodoo rituals, and they're just more involved. And I do like to do more complicated spell works where I time it to, the certain phase of the moon or day of the week. And I get all of this supplies like crystals and herbs and candles and all of those things and do the full ritual the way I want to. And gathering that, timing it right, that's a lot of work. Even just sitting down to do the ritual the way I want to could take an hour. So making the time to do everything that I want to do the way I want to do it is the trickiest part for me. And then also with that side of perfectionism and, not doing it rather than just not doing it at all, just instead do some sort of more simple and daily witchcraft things. I'm bad at that too. So making the time to make it work the way I want to, and then, being okay with it not being perfect or doing things more simply, I need to work on.
And I've talked about mine before. The trickiest part for me is finding focus and keeping that focus. I've had ADHD all my life. I'm hyperactive. Some people say I'm outgoing. I would not say I'm outgoing. I just have a lot of energy. I'm bursting at the seams with energy. Always have been. So finding focus has always been a struggle for me. Meditating, grounding, centering myself, all of that has been very tricky for me. And I've gotten better at it over time. But sometimes I just can't get in the mindset. I can't find the focus. It's going to be a lifelong struggle for me. It's a struggle of love, but I've talked about it before. that's a lot of the reasons why I like the rituals and things of the Wiccan religion, because it helps me find that focus that I'm not good at all the time. So focusing is difficult for me, which is why this podcast is brought to you by Steph and Tara, not Tara and Steph.
I help you focus.
Yes, you do.
So next up is, what is your favorite crystal or gem? So mine is pyrite.
Mine is opal.
We definitely discussed both of those. We did top 10 crystals relatively early in the year.
Yes.
So we talked about the top 10 most useful, but we also talked about other ones that are just particularly our favorites. And I talked about pyrite in that and all the reasons that I love it. And Tara talked about opal. So if you have more want to know more about that, listen to that episode.
I was gonna say, I don't actually know if I talked about opal, but it definitely is my favorite. I have opal jewelry. I have opal loose stones. Like, I really love it.
I'm pretty sure you did.
It's not a crystal, it's a gem. So I don't know if I talked about it in the crystal episode, but anyone who wants to go back and listen, let me know. I can always talk about it more if we need more information.
Favorite tarot card?
None.
Yeah, Tara's not as big into tarot as I am. I like the Chariot and Justice. I like the imagery on them, and I also just like the messaging of both of them. When they come up, I'm just like, yes, getting what you deserve and getting work done, and like all of these things are very like powerful, motivating cards. So I like both of those.
Yep. See, I got none.
Favorite herb? We did a herbs episode as well, and we talked about we both have rosemary.
Yes.
As a favorite, and I would say rosemary is like the most used.
Useful.
Yeah, it's so useful.
useful.
It has so many different correspondences. It's easy to find. It's inexpensive. It just goes in everything. It smells good.
It smells good.
It can be used in cooking as well as various herbs and oil tinctures and things like that. So lots of uses. Very easy to use. I think it's easy to work with too. Like the energy is very easy to work with. So we both had that. And then Tara's other one is rose. She's talked about that. Loves roses.
I love roses so much, guys, but I have a hard time admitting that it's an herb, even though I use it for everything that's herb related. I talked about that in the herb episode as well, but I love rose so much, guys.
I do think when witches talk about herbs, they mean flowers too. They're like included in.
I love roses. I know it's really popular right now to be like, don't give me roses. It's not as romantic as giving me a particular flower. I'm sorry. If you got me roses, I don't care who you are. I'm excited. Like, I love roses.
My other favorite is pennyroyal. I like the way it looks. And so pennyroyal is, more plant.
It is very planty, not flowery.
It is, it's like a purple little puffball. That's the best way I can describe it. If you've ever been to a botanic garden or like butterfly garden, they attract bees and butterflies, so you'll see them like all over gardens like that.
I would say they're always in butterfly gardens, everywhere in butterfly gardens.
Butterflies love pennyroyal, but they're like kind of these long, thin green stems, and then they have these purple puffs on them, and I like them. They're easy to grow. They're hardy. They attract bees and butterflies. They are
really easy to grow, guys.
Yeah, they're part of the mint family. They used to, like a long time ago, they were used to season foods, but the taste isn't as good as like peppermint or spearmint or something like that. But they are part of the mint family. But I just I like how they look, but I like, working with it, obviously with the name pennyroyal, it's associated with like wealth and prosperity and things like that. But I just find it has good energy for me to work with in prosperity workings. I just really like it in general, and pretty.
I will say that it is edible, but be careful on this one. If you're pregnant, it can have some side effects. So it's not mint as you think of mint, so don't add it to everything and be happy go lucky, but it is very useful and pretty.
Yeah. You can, like make it into tea and things. It's used for colds and pneumonia, fatigue, like anything like that in general, but it has to be used in small doses and not for more than a week. So I don't use it. I've consumed pennyroyal probably no more than 5 times in my entire life. Like that's not generally what I use it for.
Yes, and I just wanted to throw that out there. It is edible, but be leery on consuming a massive amount of quantity of it.
Yeah, just be careful with that one. But yeah, I like it for just
other things.
Yeah, exactly. So next up on the favorites is favorite season.
Summertime.
And mine is winter. I hate the summer. Oh,
love the summer.
Oh, summer is too hot and sticky and full of bugs. And,
it's freezing cold. You have to wear like 17 layers in your season.
I love 17 layers. I love the winter. I love snow. Snow is my favorite weather. So.
She's not kidding, guys. Every time there's a first snow, I get a message. It's a snowing!
Yes.
But I love snow.
I love, love, love snow. So yeah, winter is definitely my favorite season. And I do way more witchcraft in the winter. Like
I do not.
I do way more things outside. I do things with snow. I do things related to Yule and like more candle magic and just all kinds of things that I do in the winter. In the summer, I'm just like, leave me alone.
Yep, I love summer. Summertime. No clothes, no problem.
Tara's life motto.
Yeah, it really is.
Favorite mythological animal?
Unicorns and phoenixes.
I knew you were going to say unicorns, but I thought for sure you were going to say mermaids.
So yes and no. I love the traditional mermaids. I have grown less fond of them recently. I don't like thinking mermaids are friendly, happy. I don't know why. I like them as angry, bitter killers. Which I think is why I like both phoenixes and unicorns. Both of them are uncaring of humans, which sounds terrible, the way I phrase that. But like unicorns have been seen as both pure, but there's also a lot of myths about unicorns killing people, bad people, being vengeful. That resonates with me. And phoenixes, they're just outside of the life and death cycles. Like, I love that they just stand alone, doing their thing, amassing power, living their life, just moving on along. I really liked mermaids when I was younger. I'm still a big fan. Obviously, you know this. But I like the Little Mermaid. But she actually weakens mermaids in my mind because she's just like a sappy 16-year-old that wants to fall in love. And then she kills herself when she doesn't get her way. Sorry, spoiler it, guys. But,
True.
Yeah.
Sure.
I like the original story. I love the Disney movie, The Little Mermaid. The problem is that I don't actually like her as a mermaid. I like the movie, but I don't like her as a mermaid. Mermaids are vengeful and
true.
They should be. They're very angry and they kill people. In some stories, they even eat them. But anyway, so that's
Mine are all horse related. Pegasus is probably my favorite, the winged horse. And hippocamps are probably my other favorite with it, which are Greek mythology, and they're like water horses. It's like a horse in the front and then like the tail of like dolphin or whale.
I was kind of surprised that you didn't name another one.
That was not horse related, or it was?
It is horse related and Irish. Can you think of which one I'm thinking of?
Horse related and Irish.
It's a water horse.
Kelpies?
Yes. I was like trying to give you hints. I was like really surprised that one wasn't on here.
No, not Kelpies.
Not Kelpies.
Associate more with Greek mythology than Irish. I don't have any Irish in my background that I know of. I don't have any Greek either, but I have Italian, and they're kind of close.
So kind of close, guys. You heard it here first.
But I like Greek mythology better. So yes, hippocamps and Pegasus. I've just always been a horse person. So
I was gonna say the Pegasus didn't surprise me. The hippocamp's a little bit.
oh, the
Just 'cause I'm not a
horses.
big water person.
I think because I'm a water sign. I like snow. I like frozen water. Second.
I was gonna say but you don't like water.
Favorite witch movie?
Hocus Pocus.
I do love Hocus Pocus. Would
I know
definitely.
you can't see me, but I literally threw my hands in the air and like waved them around for that.
I love Hocus Pocus and I love it at Halloween time.
We watch it every Halloween.
Yeah, multiple times. Yeah, we watch it.
We've also done it multiple times as the Sanderson sisters for Halloween.
True story. I am a huge Hocus Pocus fan, but if I had to like pick a one favorite witch movie, then it's Harry Potter. It just
the original or the series, because the series is lots of movies.
Yes, this series is lots of movies, and I have a definitive ranking of the order in which I like them. But I thought that was going to be too much information, so we'll just suffice it to say that Harry Potter in general, all of the movies I love. But yes, if anyone is curious as to my definitive ranking of the Harry Potter movies, then reach out to me on Instagram, and I will definitely make that happen. Favorite pagan holiday? We've talked about this in our Sabbath episodes,
yep.
But mine is Yule. We just went over that a couple of episodes ago. I like Halloween too much that it overshadows anything for Samhain, so I don't really like do very much for Samhain or recognize the day because I'm just so focused on Halloween. So I love Yule, the that we just talked about, like the 12-day celebration and everything that's associated, because it's like celebrating, because everything Yule is, the Christians stole it from the pagans, so it's like celebrating Christmas without the religious aspects. So it's like all of the fun stuff with none of the birth of baby Christ. So I really like Yule.
Well, I really like Halloween a lot, but it doesn't overshadow the Witch's New Year for me. I love the Witch's New Year. It's so great. But I do agree that I don't celebrate it as much because Halloween's right there and I want to celebrate Halloween too. So I always do a few traditions, but Beltane. I love Beltane.
Yeah, you are straight fire all the way through.
Yeah, I love Beltane. Beltane, I celebrate for days. I do recipes and I do bonfires and I love Beltane. The meaning behind different holidays, I feel like I should be more, but no, Beltane for life, man. It's so great. It's my favorite holiday.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that one.
Yeah, I tried to put like other ones. I was like, it's got to be Beltane. Like I love celebrating Beltane so much, guys. And it's the start of when it's getting warm, and I love it.
So now we are getting into the questions that will take. We have a little more answers on. Well, first of all, do you have an altar? That was one. That's a quick one. No,
that's
I
true.
do not.
Not currently. I used to have one. Don't now. I've mentioned that before.
Yep,
I'm trying to set one up.
Before.
Not. Yeah.
So yes, these that we are getting into have a bit more to answer about them. So the first one is whether or not we have patron or matron deities, or if we have a favorite god, goddess, or pantheon. So I do not have any deities that I work with or favor because I'm a secular witch. So Tara is Wiccan, so she has, the god and goddess that's associated with Wiccan. But since I am a secular witch, I have no deities that I practice with or use or favor, anything like that. So nothing that I work with in my practice. But in general, like I said, I like Greek mythology. So I like the Greek gods and goddesses and things, but I don't work with any of those energies or have a favorite, but that's my favorite pantheon. And I think Norse is really fun. Like how
they are fun.
Norse gods and goddesses came into being. I have like great backstories. Like they're the best, but I don't associate with any of those deities in my practice either.
So I don't work with deities usually. I invoke different gods and goddesses for the different Sabbaths, but I don't generally work with them. I'm not drawn or called to work with a particular one. part of my belief system is that all gods, lowercase, are part of God, and all goddesses are part of goddess. So you're just worshiping and working with different aspects of an eternal being that we cannot grasp fully because of our limited scope as humans. That got a little deep, but so I'm not particularly drawn to a certain aspect more than other aspects. I do agree that Norse has great backstories. The Egyptians, guys, do some reading on them. It's completely warped and amazing to read about. Like legit crazy awesome. But the Celts are also fascinating. I'm a big history buff, and just reading about their culture, like, how did you develop this way? It just proves that if you're isolated, you go crazy. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I invoke different gods and goddesses during the Sabbath, during ceremony and during ritual, but I don't actually work directly with any of them. So,
have you had any paranormal experiences?
I have not had a traditional paranormal experience. As a kid, I was real considered strange. I talked to all the animals in nature all the time. I even had a tree that when I considered a friend, when I got knocked down in a storm, I cried when I was 10. My mom was like, "It's a tree, dear. You can still go visit." But I was real sad for it.
I have not had any recently. When I was a kid, I had a ghost friend named Maya, which I absolutely know was a ghost and not an imaginary friend, because Maya only came through my closet at night to visit and play with me. And you can ask my mom, I did not have I still don't have a very active imagination, but I definitely did not have an active imagination as a kid. I never played imaginary games and never had imaginary friends. It was just not something that I did and not the way that my mind works. So me making up an imaginary friend is not something that I would have done. So it didn't happen every night. It was only on certain occasions. My mom would come into my room and I'd be like, Maya visited last night and played with me. My mom was like, okay, that's creepy.
Well, and you guys, you've probably gotten to know her a little bit through this podcast, but she's a very concrete person. Like, that's why she likes her rituals to be perfect and her spell work to be perfect. And she's very, this is by the book kind of stuff. Yeah. So
definitely it was not an imaginary friend. It absolutely was
a ghost.
Was a ghost that was just, a ghost of a girl, and she wanted to play. I don't know. She wanted a little playmate, and I was there. So yeah, it was just very, very specific, very certain times. And a lot of, kids have imaginary friends if they're lonely or associated with certain times of life. A lot of kids have an imaginary friends if their parents are going through a divorce or something like that. That's associated with something that a child considers traumatic and needs a friend for. Yeah. But I nothing associated with any events or anything like that. It was just random certain nights. So they'd be like, "Oh, Maya came." I was like, "You're so creepy," but okay. But my mom has seen ghosts as well, so she completely agrees. She's like, yeah, that was a ghost friend. You did not have imaginary friends. So that was my only paranormal experience. Maya for the win. Next up is thoughts on the afterlife. If we have any thoughts on the afterlife.
I have thoughts on the afterlife. Do you have thoughts on the afterlife?
So I believe that, I don't believe in heaven and hell as that Christian construct that you are be good and you go to this good place on the sky, and if you're bad, you go to this bad place, bad fiery place. I mean, Tara and I joke all the time that we're going to have a condo in hell, right next to each other.
Townhouses, thank you.
Yes, townhouses in hell right next to each other. We joke about that, but we don't really believe in heaven. No, we don't. So
that's why we can joke.
I definitely believe in ghosts, obviously, since I had a little ghost friend. And I know lots of people that have had ghost experiences, or when a loved one passes away, visits with them. And I know people work with their ancestors. So I don't believe that nothing happens, that it's just the end. But I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what actually happens. I know that pets go to a good place, because I've definitely my mom has had the dogs visit her after they die to let her know that they're okay. None of them have visited
That's so
me,
sweet.
maybe because I know they're okay, but pets obviously go to a good place. Wherever they are happy and things are good. But yeah, there are just like a lot of different ways you can view the afterlife, reincarnation, or, going to that good place or anything like that. And I have no idea how I feel I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. So other than pets go to a good place, I don't know what I think. Something happens, but I don't know.
So I spent a lot of time thinking about this, and you can agree, disagree. Part of it is just how I view the world. But I think that our energy, you can't lose energy. I'm sorry. It's just scientific. Energy has to go somewhere. Energy just keeps going. But our energy moves back into the universe, and we rejoin the ether, the stars, however you want to think about it, out there in the universe. And then at some point, after we've done that for a while, we come back. That's why reincarnation is such a big thing, and why you change so much in between different lives, because not all of you comes back. Maybe you stole some energy from over here and you borrowed some energy from over there, and that makes a new person. It's still predominantly you, but it's like when you eat a giant pizza. Like, it becomes part of you, and it may make you uncomfortable and you have to change a little bit, but then, it becomes part of you, and it's just part of you going forward. So I believe that our energy is never lost. It just goes out, and then at some point it may decide to come back into a physical form. It may not. Maybe you like the ether. You want to hang out with the stars. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like to think that birthmarks are the mark of where you died or how you died in a past life. That one's fun. It's a fun belief.
That makes me uncomfortable because I have a lot of birthmarks. So,
I
was stabbed multiple times. Like, it would be.
Could be.
Maybe. I mean,
I have that like stork bite angel kiss thing on the back of my neck.
Yes, you do.
So I like to say beheaded. Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake.
Because I was like, I've got one on one of my knees. I've got one on my stomach. I've got one on my chest. Like, I had a very traumatic
I got stabbed a lot.
Which makes sense because I'm very injury prone now. But anyway.
The next question was just what our sun, moon, and rising signs are. So I think we've mostly gone over this, but mine is Scorpio sun, Libra moon, and Sagittarius rising. But I am Scorpio through and through. I don't feel like Libra and Sagittarius reflect a lot of my life at all.
And I've mentioned before, I'm a Libra sun and moon sign, which is why I'm such a Libra. It's like a standing joke that I am just such a Libra. And then my rising is Cancer. I don't really see Cancer in me very much, but Libra, yeah. Holy Libra, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I'm such a Libra.
And then the very last question is like a three-parter kind of. What would you call your type of practice? How did you discover your path, and how long that have you been practicing? And we've kind of touched on these here and there throughout various episodes, but I think people are just want a couple sentence answer in one place. So when we talked about types of witches, we said that we are both hearth witches, so that's like part of that. And obviously that Tara is a Wiccan and I am not. So my practice would be called American traditional witchcraft, because there's this distinction that's made between Wicca versus traditional.
Correct.
That's especially when you are researching and like looking into books and things. They're Wicca based books and they're traditional witchcraft based books that don't have the religious aspect. So that might help you if you're looking for a path yourself. So mine is American traditional. Wicca is very European traditional based, because obviously that's where Wicca started. So mine is American traditional that doesn't have any of those religious aspects, and not a lot of those like European influences either. American is pretty different. And my practice is based heavily on animism and hoodoo. Hoodoo we've mentioned quite a bit. Animism is just where you believe that everything has a spirit, that animals have a spirit, and plants and trees, and I you know, when I go out in nature, work with like the garden, I believe that all of those things have their own spirits. That's what animism means. It's very sort of Appalachian based kind of witchcraft. I don't have like ancestry. Like a lot of people find their witchcraft path that way, that they have like Norse or in their bloodline, that, you know, something up in the like Netherlands. So they have a lot of Norse goddesses, or they are Irish in their background, so a lot of Celtic influences. I don't have any of that because I think I am Italian and German, but I am adopted.
So she's also Indian.
Yes, my dad is Indian and my mom is like Irish and British, like European in general. So I don't particularly have like strong ancestry, and I refuse to get a DNA test because I think that's super creepy. So I don't have a strong ancestry pull in any direction that I feel like I want to work with those like particular deities or belief systems or anything. The only sort of pull I have ever felt is Kentucky. So yeah, that's like,
it's very Kentucky, guys.
Yeah, it's very, very Kentucky based. And that's a lot of this sort of animism, hoodoo, Appalachian magic, all of those things. So American traditional, if you are more interested in learning about that, then the books that I recommend are Besom Saying and Sword and Treading the Mill. We've talked about both of those and they are linked on our Amazon page. So if you want to know more about like kind of how I practice and my beliefs, those are the best books. And how I discovered that is definitely through trial and error. I started with absolutely knowing that I wasn't Wiccan or religious. So that's how I was like, okay, clearly going in this traditional path. So like, let's look at the, you know, more in the traditional things. Yeah. So that's how I started. And I've been practicing for 10 plus years. There's definitely interest before that, but I distinctly remember, I remember exactly when I started like researching more and practicing more was when I was in law school. My friend Natalie had a necklace on, and if you've ever done this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but you can use a necklace that you're wearing if it's like got like a charm on it, so it's more like a pendant, and it will predict how many kids you're going to have. You ever, Tara, have you ever done that?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm smiling over here. I know you can't
see
me, but
what you do is you take off the necklace and you hold it in your hand so it gets your energy, and then like somebody else steadies their arm and holds it up above your palm and like pulls it up slowly. So then if it like swings at like back and forth, you're going to have a boy, and if it's in a circle, it's a girl or something like that. Yeah. And then if it doesn't swing at all, you're going to have no kids, and like how many times you pull it up and down, and it's like how many kids you're going to have. And it was just,
there's a whole thing.
Yeah. Natalie and I were having so much fun with it because it kept telling her she was going to have 6 kids. So which is hilarious. She's only got 2 right now, but her time's not up yet. So she could have 4 more. Who knows? But for me, it always told me 0 every single time, which I loved because I do not like children and I do not want children. So it always told me 0. And it was funny because it told my mom 0 too, which is true because I'm adopted. So she never actually had a kid. So that was super interesting. And I was like, there is something to this, that it like keeps being so freaking accurate. I mean, other than
keeps
Natalie not having 6 kids yet, but who knows? But I was like, okay, there's something to this, you know, pendulum trick and it getting your energy when you hold on to it, you know. So that's definitely the moment that I started like researching more and like getting into it. So I graduated law school in 2010. So 10 plus years.
There you go.
Oh God, 2010 I graduated. That was a long time ago.
Shush. Well, so I am also traditional, but I'm more European traditional because I'm Wiccan. I would say definitely eclectic Wiccan. However, I don't follow a particular Wiccan path. There are different sects of Wicca, and I don't follow any of those more traditional ones. When I first got into witchcraft, it was actually because I'm a huge reader, which you may have noticed through different comments on the podcast, the book reviews on Patreon, that kind of thing. And I found out that you can check out 99 books at our local public library before they put a limit on your card. And so I had 99 books out from the local library, and I started middle school. I would have been, 11 or 12. I can't even remember. But so I started going through the middle school library because I'd already finished all the elementary school libraries and I wasn't allowed in the high school library, and public library was currently mad at me until I returned some books. So I started working my way through my middle school books, and they actually had a section on world religions. Okay, small town, it was like 2 shelves. But one of the books was Teen Witch by Raven Silverwolf. And I was reading through it, and it just really, really spoke to me, guys. Like, going back and rereading it, I have said that don't reread some books that you loved as teens. Like, it wasn't ruined, but it definitely was a different experience for reading it when we were doing different recommendations. But I really enjoyed it at the time. It was just, I really liked it. And so I started reading more books on the subject, on all of this stuff. So it was originally published in 2000, guys. So 20 years. I read it when it first came out. And but anyway, so I started reading more and more. Probably within a week of me reading that, I had read maybe 5 more books. I had read some of the more dense books. I actually requested my librarian get a couple additional books, and one of the Sabbaths came up. I know it was less than 10 days after I read this book for the first time. So I ended up celebrating the Sabbath, and I loved it. It really spoke to me. I really felt connected to this. So then I read A Witch's Bible by Janet and Stuart Farrar. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. Sorry about that. And The Book of Shadows by Lady Sheba. And both of those still resonated really a lot with me. And it was before I was 13, because my mom was then like, you should get confirmed as a Christian. And I was like, no, I shouldn't. So that was right around the time when I was like, oh, bye. So I was 13. I turned 35 this year. So I've been doing this for a while. And I really developed, at first I only celebrated the Sabbaths and the Wiccan holidays. I did the full moon ceremonies. I did the major and minor Sabbaths, and that's all I did. I did that for a few years with friends. And then sometime in high school, it was like an epiphany. Like, I could do other things outside of that. Like, it was more than just a religion. And so I started doing spellcraft in high school. Started playing with herbs and oils. I had a tarot deck. So, but yeah, I really developed my practice from there. And now I'm on the path I'm on. So
very nice.
Yeah. But really, reading got me into it. So there's that.
Well, hopefully that answers all of your questions. I know this was a pretty long, chatty episode, but we had some fun questions in there that we wanted to give you answers to, so you could just learn a little bit more about us before we wrap up this year and then dive into season 2.
Woo-hoo! Is it
where
really
we are
season, or is it just a whole new year?
Yeah, both.
Nice.
So we're going to get into, next week we'll talk a little bit more about what you can expect, but we thought it would be good to get some of these questions out of the way and let you know a little bit more about us, so you have a basis of understanding when we get into some more detailed episode that we're going to do next year. So that's all we have for you this week. We will see you next week for our very last episode of 2020.
Woo-hoo, I'm so excited.
See you then. Bye.
Bye. Follow us on Insta.
Thanks for listening to Witch Wednesdays with Steph and Tara. Love our content? Consider donating at anchor.fm/witch-wednesdays to help keep our podcast up and running. Please leave us a voicemail on that same site if you have any questions or comments, and follow us on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast.